style. We're all millionaires.
I feel so bad for whoever's sitting there watching the live stream, and that's how it starts.
Oh gosh.
For all of our new viewers on LinkedIn,
Yep.
welcome. This is how this goes.
Please endorse me for anti-submarine warfare, which I have in my LinkedIn profile as a skill.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's our first time going to LinkedIn as well. Now you can endorse me as a live streamer of some sort.
Oh yeah,
right?
influencer.
Yeah,
I'll endorse you right now.
Influencer.
Hold on, let me endorse you right now, Ralph.
You have to take a screenshot of this video and then put that in the endorsement. Amazing.
Yes.
Perfect.
It says LinkedIn is read-only, meaning we can't reply to comments from here. That's a bummer.
Oh.
I mean, we could get on the LinkedIn page and read the comments, probably.
Yeah, but then you got to click something else. And
can you see the comments in here
to do
when they're talking?
It's read-only. I'm assuming that we will be able to see them.
Yeah, exactly. That will be my that'll be my what do you call it? My skill is live streaming with out of focus Bitcoin mining equipment. Perfect.
Yeah, let me go endorse you for all kinds of mining technology, deep sea mining.
Just anything that has to do with mining.
Deep sea mining. Yes, deep sea mining. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I honestly I have those Bitcoin logos on there, but I need to get a Chia logo now. I'm gonna print one out 3D style. Do that for the next coin. Just keep it going. Yeah,
Detrimental is concerned. Yes, we did start Detrimental, or just start. We have not actually started
and
our
we're
content.
Almost done. Yeah, we're almost out of content.
But to be fair, this is basically our content. But
yeah, it's just us bullshitting around and
pretty much
interjecting some actual news in there that could help you. It's like the pre-show, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is just a weekly version of pre-show banter.
I had put in the news chat. We have a group or a team of people that like cultivate the articles and stuff. In case you guys are wondering where we get all these articles and kind of post in there. And I was looking through them recently, and I was just like, wow, this is just depressing. How much it's like everyone's just getting lit up recently. I don't know. I don't know why I just thought like depressed. Like typically I'm like, oh, this is such a sweet attack. But then, I'm just like, oh, another 70 million or 700 million of this data got stolen. And I don't know. It just seems like, are we winning this war or are we just watching it, from the sideline? But I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah,
our clients are winning more than non-clients. Say that.
This is true.
That's true. Yeah. But the thing is though, like I see some of these names and I'm like, do they not have any budget? I mean, obviously somebody like Experian or Equifax, they don't have a budget. They actually got rid of their whole team the last breach ago. I'm just kidding. But seriously.
Well, I mean, it's not like they don't make much money either, so.
Yeah, no, well, I hear that. That's my point. You have these big companies that make a ton of money and they can't afford it. Like, I mean, I don't know. That seems just like a brutal statement, right? Like, does not compute.
Security's expensive, We keep saying it, but.
Well, and you have to think about like when you have a big company like that, obviously, a larger company is going to have more servers, more endpoints, more things like that. And even if you have a robust cybersecurity program, you just have so many more entry points, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's like if I was going to break into, a small.
Uh-oh.
Yep. We're losing her.
Looks like
I kind of know what she's saying.
Like,
all the various like public view too also helps. Oh.
It's slowly trying to catch up. Oh. Ashley, we're losing your signal.
Micrometeors.
Every time. They strike every time.
I know. Like, the Comcast guy was supposed to show up yesterday and did not show up again. So,
Surprise!
Yeah, I know, right?
You should call a ransomware provider. They have better customer service than Comcast.
Maybe they can get you help with your
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna kill my camera for a second and see if I can move a little bit of cord to plug it in. So I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
You want to get this rolling?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. You ready? You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Ready as we'll ever be.
Welcome to Black Hills Information Security, talking about the news. I'm going to be your host today, Ralph May. John is out saving the world as usual, teaching a class. Who knows? He's a mysterious man. But we actually have a all-star cast of news people today. We have everyone's waiting. I was laughing. So going around the room here. We got Noah at the top. We have Corey, we have Max, and we have the shootist driving this whole picture frame motion thing we call video and audio for podcasts. And Ashley, yes, she's here as well. She's just not on the video. Hopefully she'll be back here in a second. But she can join in the conversation.
I think John sabotaged your internet.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure why, but that's something that John likes to do. I don't know, very mean. But I guess we can go ahead and kick it off. Hopefully Ashley can join in and we can keep it going. But what do you guys want to start with today? I know we kind of did a little pre-show talk. We kind of got a bunch of articles here.
Just a few.
Yeah, let's start it off.
You got one?
Oh no, I was just gonna say the one that stood out to me recently was the Fortinet and Rapid7. So responsible disclosure, right? You got that article?
Oh, okay. Yep. I just found it. Bringing it up
cool.
now.
Yeah. So surprise, surprise, responsible disclosure is kind of a pain in the butt. So Rapid7 discovered a vulnerability in Fortinet, I believe is in one of their routers or firewalls. And they told them about it, and they got pretty much radio silence. They gave them 60 days, and then they disclosed the vulnerability. Well, Fortinet wanted more time. They wanted 90 days. It kind of went back and forth, this whole thing. And, what we who have done this before have found out is that, responsible disclosure can be a pain in the butt when you're dealing with vendors. And it doesn't always go right, even when you try to do everything with the best intentions. So, fun stuff, right?
It's interesting. They're like, you didn't follow the terms on our website, right? It's like, well, hold on. Isn't that two-way street here, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's weird to side with Rapid7, but I mean, it just seems like 60 days is kind of the industry standard a little bit. I don't know.
Well, and then on top of that, like you said, it was the terms outlined on their website. So I could have a product and I could put it on my website. Like, I don't want you to ever disclose any vulnerabilities you find. Why doesn't that work? It's the same reason why saying we need 60 days on our website doesn't make a difference.
No, I think you should do that. It would make you so much more secure. No one will hack you if you just you can't. No hacking allowed, right?
Yeah, you're not allowed to hack me. You're not allowed to disclose that you hacked me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's tough doing these if you've gone through the process of doing a responsible disclosure. Getting people in. When you get the organization involved, sometimes they don't necessarily have the motivation to fix the item. They don't want people to know. They want extended timelines. They want you to describe all the ins and outs of this. They want you to do a bunch of free work, kind of like after you've already discovered the vulnerability. They want you to go through how to remediate it and all these other kind of things. So it can be a real slippery slope, and you'd be like, hey, I want to talk about this in 60 days. And they're like, no, well, if you read it on our website, it's 90 days. And so, it can be fun is the word I'm going to use. I think some other people have more intimate experiences with that, but not every vendor is, has a good responsible disclosure program, let alone, stays to their own rules, right? So
I feel like there's got to be some read between the lines here, right? Maybe it sounds like they're just upset. They're probably just like something about the way the email chain happened led to someone getting upset, and legal
lawyers
action
were called,
exactly.
Cetera,
like I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, the article doesn't say, but I just feel like if it was a normal like just 3 more days, Rapid7 probably would have been like, oh, that's fine. Like 68 days right there. They gave them 8 more days for a reason, and then at some point they just said, cut it, just disclose it, right? Like something told them to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think, we've seen this in the past and we'll probably continue to see it. It kind of sucks when you get caught up in the middle, but then it just makes you not want to go through the process of this and hand it off to somebody else to do it, whether it be the client who paid you for this or something. So, because typically like Rapid7, for example, since they're a consultancy, they probably weren't hired by Fortinet to do an assessment on their firewalls or routers. And because of that, they probably did it for a customer. It's usually easier to hand it off to the customer and be like, hey, this is a vulnerability. You might want to let them know about it, So I know John's got some feelings about that. We've talked about it before, but yeah. Oh, fun stuff. All right. Let's talk about breaches here. So AT&T got breached. 70 million users in database. Now, I want it to be known that AT&T says that it wasn't us. It wasn't me. They're going with the Shaggy defense. And actually, T-Mobile went with that one last week. And I got a message from T-Mobile last week saying that my information had been compromised in the last dump. So, and they got a little picture there from an anonymous form, which we won't talk about, which you could easily go Google search. And, that people are selling these databases out there. So, how AT&T got breached, not really sure yet, but, could it be
but they're saying they didn't. And you can trust AT&T. You can trust these big companies.
Oh, yeah. I trust them.
Yep.
Yeah. No. It'll probably come out next week that somebody that they work with, that they're not associated with, blah, 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 their security practices, not AT&T's. So.
Yeah. What's a social security number anyhow?
They're so cheap
worth
nowadays.
Much. Yeah.
I mean, you can buy like a couple hundred super easy.
Yeah, I bought Ralph's a while ago. I've been using it all over the place.
I know, man. I know.
But yeah, his credit's up though. I've been helping him out. So.
Yeah, I mean, this information. It's wild too that like they're back to back getting sold. 2 different telco providers too, which
large telco providers. Yeah,
large telco providers. And then we were kind of talking about before the show, like, do they not have a security program? So I think T-Mobile, this is like the 3rd time. All right. I mean, I could be wrong on that number, but like the 3rd time that they've been breached. Like, I mean, hire somebody, do something better. I don't know. It is difficult to say that when, these organizations are big and their attack surface is just as big, but, still though, we haven't solved it.
Yeah. Right? It's tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings it back to the whole disappointing part where it's like, oh, this is like, what are we doing? Is it even worth it?
And we might need to redefine what a breach is, honestly, because it's sort of like, what do we classify as a breach? Is it a threat actor accesses an internal server and does something, or is it like a certain number of records get disclosed, or is it like, the Facebook breach, for example? It's like, okay, well, no internal data was accessed, but like, 70 million mobile phone numbers were disclosed. Does that count, right? Or like the LinkedIn breach where it's just scraped data. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting discussion. What is a breach? Are we counting it as only maybe some, Max can comment on that. I don't know much about defense, but is there like an official calculation on what counts as a breach, or is it just like whatever news articles someone writes and says it's a breach?
I think right now it's kind of self-defined for the most part, but nice thing, I kind of like the fact that it seems like we're a little jumpy to call stuff breaches. Even though sometimes you're like, okay, yeah, so you got some cell phone numbers, but it's still data that, I mean, I don't necessarily want to give my cell phone number out to everyone. But it's really, I worry that if we go and approach that conversation too much, that companies are going to start kind of like, well, if we only lose 50 social security numbers, that shouldn't count as a breach. And that's where it kind of gets to that point of like, these companies don't care about you and they're not afraid to break a couple eggs to make an omelet type of thing. And I worry that becomes a slippery slope a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What is it 1 billion people? Does that make it? I mean, yes.
If it starts going from, okay, any one person constitutes a breach, like to, oh, there's a imaginary number we made up somewhere. That number, it's like wrong at once you get to that point.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily, I think it's just unauthorized access to that data, right? And then the statement is that like, who should what kind of data makes it so sensitive that we need to let everyone know, right? Is it just like my freaking shopping preferences? Like, how sensitive is that, as opposed to like my social security number, which I could consider sensitive, identity theft, amongst many other things. So yeah,
I would almost argue that your shopping preferences are more valuable than your social security number. But that's just me. Well, just because of the amount of things you can tell about a person from just that kind of information. I mean, just as a little bit of an example, working in the SOC, we see all these logs on computers all the time. Yeah. The information we get out of those logs, I can tell so much about what's going on inside of an environment just off of the logs alone. You look at, especially if you start looking at things like DNS, you start looking at things like Zeek logs. I mean, yeah, they're obviously detailed logs, but you can tell so much stuff from that logs. If someone knows all of the things I purchased off of Amazon in the last, 2 years, they know a ton about me, arguably more than they know about me if they just know my social security number.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. It's tough. And like, what do you count? Like, is it just someone slipping it out, like accidentally sending something? I mean, I think I consider a breach like just unauthorized access. I mean, these people are getting 70 million records and terabytes of data and text, which also kind of blows my mind too when you start thinking about that. Compression really comes in there. But yeah, I mean, I consider that a breach, and it's a lot of information that no one's supposed to have, and they're going to use it in a malicious nature, right? And I think that's really, really what matters. So
if they're saying they weren't breached, does that mean they sold the data? Maybe.
It's not a breach. We sold this info.
We can argue Facebook does this every week, right? They're always breached. They don't call it that because they sell it, right?
Yeah.
Wait, is that a segue? Yeah. I feel like that could be a segue.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about your Facebook story?
Yeah, let's go into that. I mean, unless we really want to talk about this some more, but
no. I mean, I think
sorry guys, this is a New York Times article, so it's paywalled. But
I might have a transition to Facebook though, if I'm allowed to interject. So sure. You were saying there's a lot of information you can get from the data you see at the SOC. What if Facebook starts offering SOC services?
With
something in the contract that says they can use it for marketing or whatever.
That's a good. Is there any like InfoSec influencer companies yet? Does that exist? Because that'd be so terrifying. It's like, your algorithm said that you really want to protect insider threats, so we've just quarantined your entire internal network, right? It's like,
there you go.
The SOC technicians can like upvote alerts and stuff. It's like tier 1 liked this or whatever. It's like,
oh, perfect.
Oh man, yeah, that would be terrible. But
so how is Facebook making our life better?
Oh, in its normal ways. I don't know. People are like, oh, we have the beauties of the internet. I think Facebook broke everything with that. But anyhow, so this article, paywalled, but you can pretty much tell everything you need to know from the headline here, which is that to protect users, Facebook says it's hiding friends list on accounts in Afghanistan. And I think this is just really interesting and slightly unprecedented that Facebook is now kind of acknowledging the fact that its users are disclosing almost more information than they really want to be disclosing. And for their own protection, now Facebook is coming in and hiding the friend list to prevent open source intelligence against these people in Afghanistan. And I just think that's wild. And like I said, it's unprecedented. Basically, like all this time, Facebook's been there, but they've never acknowledged this. It's just always been in the background. We knew it. A lot of people on this webcast knew it, but Facebook is now acknowledging it, which is kind of crazy. So, any thoughts on that?
Are we assuming the Taliban doesn't have a Facebook account? You can't be like, can you be friends with the Taliban on Facebook? Like, I'm assuming not. I just want to. Like,
I thought I read an article recently that they were upset. They were upset that their freedom of speech was being like impeded against because they weren't allowed on Twitter or something. I don't know.
No, they're deplatformed. That would.
Oh no! Actually, it was the opposite. It was that they were on the platforms, but other people, had been deplatformed, right? And that, who do we value more? I don't know. Whatever. It's kind of funny.
I mean, it is interesting because it takes I feel like most companies now have like a secure-ish or private-ish default, but no one gets the default unless like who's creating a new Facebook account, right? Other than Ralph's new kid, like everyone already has one, and so their settings are the same they were like, I was in high school in 2005 when I made this Facebook account. Hopefully that same settings carrying forward are fine, but it is interesting to see them actually go, no, your default settings are garbage, we're throwing them away and we're giving you new settings, right? It's interesting.
Well, and I don't know. I think with friends, I don't know if you can really hide those other than hide your entire profile, which is a great idea. You should totally do that. But I think you actually have to hide your entire profile. Otherwise, anyone can find your profile and see who your friends are.
Mm-hmm.
But
just do yourself a favor, delete your Facebook, and you'll be a better person.
That's the ultimate fix.
Delete your lawyer, hit the gym. Wait, I'm confused.
Hit the lawyer wait, no, that's also not.
No, you're on track. It's fine.
Going further on this, what do you do if one of their leaders tries to add you on Facebook to see your friends list? If you decline, is that already dangerous? I don't know.
When I was young and I first got Facebook, my mother told me you should never add anyone on Facebook you don't know in real life. And I would say that advice stands true even to today. So
Max, that's a flashback to MySpace right there, where we had what's his name is everybody was whatever his name was friend Tom. Yeah, everybody was Tom's.
Yeah. He was everyone's friend. He wanted all the friends, and he was in the top 8.
In Afghanistan, the leader is everybody's friend. That's just automatic.
Facebook needs a third option called like the Glomar response or whatever, the confirm nor deny. It's like I can neither confirm nor deny whether we're friends.
Oh yes, perfect. Yeah, Facebook's had some improvements when it comes to connections. But anyways.
Well, and by the way, we have a comment here, but Shady, I'm not necessarily saying stop using Facebook. I am saying stop using Facebook if you can. But if you don't feel like you can do that, then at least go back and visit your privacy settings and make sure that you regularly are going back there and make sure that the information that's being shared about you is information you're okay with being shared. I'm not saying you can't use it, but if you're not using it, then you're definitely not sharing information you don't want shared.
Oh, no, I'm totally saying delete your Facebook. And it's not because of security issues. That's not why I think you should delete your Facebook.
Oh, there's so many reasons. Yeah.
I think personally you should delete your Facebook because of what it does, like what it does to your perception, right? Facebook feeds you information. And granted, it's not just Facebook. This is not just a Facebook thing, right? But just taking information about you and feeding what you want to see, even if that's not actually reality. It's the algorithm, right? Like in multiple documentaries have been about this, and this has been discussed. And the idea is that if it gets engagement, if it gets you to click, that's what it's going to feed you. And so you just start getting this kind of fake reality fed to you every day, and that's the real issue with Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to say,
for sure.
Yeah,
it's not what you like; it's what you engage with, which is usually things that make you mad, right?
yeah.
Right.
So, but anyways, yeah, and that's, I know we're kind of going off the security tangent here, but you know, that's
Are we streaming
that's
this on
real
Facebook? Follow us on Facebook. No, I'm just
Yeah, follow us on Facebook. We're going to stream on Facebook now too. We need more likes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So much fun. But all right. What else we got for today? So we talked about Facebook and, you know, them doing good things, weirdly enough, for not following. Oh,
sometimes I feel like Facebook is just shoveling a bunch of crap at you.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Is that a segue?
It was an attempt at a segue, yes.
Give it to us. Give it to
now
us.
that
You're
I have
rolling with
internet
it.
again, right? So,
Oh, she's back?
Yeah, Ashley's here, so I figured it was as good a time as any.
I think that I've gotten stable for a second.
And shout out to my home state of Maine here, unfortunately. But take it away, Ashley.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago we were talking about train stations. Now we're going to talk about sewage plants. So there were a couple of sewage plants that were hit by ransomware attacks. Again, it's kind of the same way with the train stations. So, you know, they didn't take any data, they didn't do any damage. They just was like, look at what we can do, which is almost more terrifying, right? That they're opening up this scope of like, okay, look, we can shut down transportation, we can hit sewage systems, so we can now shut down sewage plants. You know, in the past we've had water treatment facilities attacked. You know, it's this look at all of the things that we can do with your critical infrastructure. Like we could annihilate it if we wanted to, but you know, it's like they're poking those holes in it now to see what they can and can't do. I think the most terrifying part about this particular attack took safety systems offline. So pumps that could overheat, tanks that could overflow, those kinds of things those are the things that you always panic when you're talking industrial control systems, right? If a pump overheated, could it explode? Could it cause loss of life to people at the plant? You know, I'm sure that there's chemicals and stuff like that should not be set on fire in a sewage treatment plant. You know, what happens to the outside, you know, outside of just the plant, right? We blow up a pump. Now there's a fire. Now we're burning off chemicals, and that, you know, that smoke and everything expands out into the grid. Now, what do you have to be concerned about the population that's around that sewage plant, and you know, how far that could go depending on wind and everything. So it's a really kind of dangerous, really scary situation that they were able to get this. And Windows 7, that's how they got in, you know.
And nobody likes the smell of burning poo.
Right. Yeah, that's never good.
It's probably training for an op. They're like, all right, go hack this rural plant in Maine. If you can't get in there, you can't be part of our ransomware group.
Yeah, it's actually it's like an initiation process, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're CTF to get into the club.
But then someone went too far, and then they started noticing. You know.
Yeah. Anytime you see safety controls being touched, it's really just crazy. I mean, I think the first one I'm aware of was Trisis or Triton, depending on who you like to follow in OT information security, but they had there's a fantastic episode on Darknet Diaries about Triton. If you guys haven't heard that, go back and check that out. But it just kind of really outlines the dangers of having internet connected safety controllers. You know, I mean, and I also, working in a manufacturing background, I've worked with the techs. I've sat there and listened with them, and we've talked about, hey, we can't not have these things connected to our networks. Like it's way too inconvenient. That thing is, you know, thousands of feet in the air somewhere, but you really should think about it. You should really stop for a second and think about it before you connect it up.
it's a difficult game too, because you have, you have sometimes you have like compressor stations, specifically like when you're talking like oil and gas pipelines. You have these compressor stations, and they're not close to the refinery. They're just used to keep the pipeline funneling, and they're unmanned, so nobody's out there. They're hours away from a refinery because you have thousands and thousands of miles of pipeline, and they're just sitting there doing nothing. If you needed to take it offline, somebody's driving 2.5, 3 hours. I've seen upwards of them being 4 hours from where anybody was able to get to them. And in 4 hours, an attacker can do a whole lot of damage. And so you have to have those things connected to the internet because they had to remotely access those things and get readings and stuff like that. But at what point is the risk of having those things connected to the internet greater than the reward? And it's every time I see a ransomware attack, I'm like, oh well, clearly we haven't found that line yet, because we're still putting things on the internet consistently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just it's like these things are bound to happen. And when you look at rural locations that are getting hit, it's like, okay, well, I mean, how many people is that affecting really when you're talking a rural location? But it's like, well, these companies, these plants, I've been in oil refineries for 6 different corporations, right? And when I go in, there's so many similarities that it's like, if I went to mom and pop oil company that only has maybe one refinery, that refinery is pretty much built the same way as, large mega we give gas to everybody corporation. There's not like there's a plethora of manufacturers out there that are creating these devices. There's a handful of manufacturers out there that are creating these devices. And so if the vulnerability exists somewhere rural, chances are it exists in a big corporation too. Now, mom and pop may not have as much money to put into cybersecurity as, mega corporation, but eventually, you'll find something. I mean, it kind of ties back into AT&T, right? And we were talking about like, it's a larger corporation. You have a larger surface area, even though you might put millions of dollars into cybersecurity. There's just so much more to secure that it realistically is the same problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And those smaller organizations running PLCs, those are interesting too. At one point I had a friend who had a distillery, and they called me out and they were just like, hey, would you take a look at this? I just want to make sure I'm doing things right. And I go into there, and I wasn't familiar with distillery operations. So I had him show me around and explain the processes and everything. And I found out later on that they had their pressure vessels PLC just reading data into their cell phone, but they were the only operator, so they were like, this seemed like a great idea at the time. I'm like, no, you gotta stop that right now. You should not have PLC data going to a cell phone ever. But anyhow, so those smaller companies are almost scarier sometimes, because at least in those larger corporations, they have a policy sometimes written out.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that you brought that up with the distillery, because I definitely saw this. It was like I don't know, like do it yourself, like craft beer thing, and you just got a Raspberry Pi and you put OpenPLC on it, and you could set it all up as a PLC, and then it would connect. It would send all the data back to your cell phone. There was a homegrown app that was with it that you could modify a little bit for your needs, and it would tell you, like, it'd be like, hey, this has been soaking for X amount of days and everything. And then it even had instructions with it So after the number of days hit, there would be a trigger that would send you the instructions of what you need to do next to make your beer. And I was actually going to like set the whole thing up in my basement as kind of like a hacker experiment. But then I was going to actually attack it and show why you shouldn't do that. And everything. But yeah, it's like the amount of things that you can do with PLCs and even like little like homegrown PLCs is incredible. You know, there's all these projects where you can, you could put, you can build your own security system, make your own remote, door pads and locks and everything and stuff like that. And I'm just like, this is...
Yeah, and then at the same point, you know that some sewage facility in Maine sees some project and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty good. We could work that in because it's being ran by 2 guys and or whatever, And it's why these are so hard sometimes. But yeah,
I can't wait to get beer ransomed back to someone. It's like pay 25 bitcoins to unlock your beer.
Actually, didn't one of the whiskey distillers get hit with ransomware a while back? And it disrupted it was like Jack Daniels or something like that. So I'd have to hunt up the article for it, but
you'll ruin the batch if you do not send Bitcoin to this address and also a case of Jack Daniels.
So what you're saying is that we're one insider threat away from the next big ransomware, right? What if there was a message board or chat where somebody could just post out and say, hey, you want to make a percentage of ransomware on this attack? And I guess there is. So I guess cybercrime groups are asking insiders to help with actually planning ransomware. They are posting on Telegram and saying, hey, listen, if you plant or run this ransomware at your company, we'll give you, 40% of the proceeds that they have to pay out in a ransomware, right? Which is pretty wild if you think about it. Hey, just run this, and I would argue maybe lose your job, but, get paid a bunch of money. So
it's only illegal if you get caught, Ralph.
The real question is, how is attribution good enough to pick this? Like, because you can easily just be like, "Oh, I didn't know what I was running," right? Like, do we have enough OSINT or enough intel to actually attribute this?
Yeah, so you could third party it. You could be like, "All right, well, listen, I'm not going to do anything. You just send me the email and I'll click on it, right? Make it realistic, and I'll just be the dumb guy. I'll be the person who didn't know that he clicked on this, right? So yeah." That could be the way to kind of smooth over the attribution. But I mean, insider threats are real, and one click away, with a decent threat actor could really work you over pretty fast, right? And put your incident response to the test to see how fast you can stop this ransomware from spreading, right?
Don't worry, though. There's no disgruntled employees, dude. Companies treat their workers so well. There's no people peeing in bottles or anything like that. No one's disgruntled. It's fine. 10-hour days for 30 years. I don't see the problem.
I mean, you make a good point.
I think it's funny that this was an article for today as well, because I'm speaking at a conference in November. Well, hopefully we'll see what COVID does, right? But I'm supposed to be speaking at a conference in November, and this was kind of like one of the topics that I was going to talk about, right? Is this kind of new idea of like ransomware as a service? Where, whereas before it was usually like, I mean, you have all the APT groups and stuff like that, but it was usually contained within those groups, right? Those groups were out doing stuff for those groups. And it's like now these groups are spreading it, and they're like, hey, we could get more people and we could get more money if we take other people and have them do stuff for us, and then work that in, right? We give a small percentage of what we're getting, so we're still making all this money, but we're not having to keep recruiting people and stuff like that. I think it's getting more difficult to maybe recruit people and stuff. But having that where you already have somebody with their foot already in the door, you don't have to break in from the internal. And so this concept is really, really interesting.
It's like make it worth my while, right? I mean, they got a lot of they probably asked people, what is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to infect this system or this host or whatever? And people said, give me a cut of the profits. And they were like, oh, this actually works. If we give you 40%, people are in, right? It's like if you just ask people for their password, they're like, no. But if you're like, here's $5, can I have your password? They're like, yes, actually. That's how much my password's worth.
Think of all the biggest like IT tech companies. They're all middlemen. And that's what they're doing, right? They're building a ransomware middleman service, right? You can do a lot more ransomware, a lot more attacks, and a lot less exposure if you just take a piece of the action in the middle, right? Just setting it up or doing whatever. So we're going to see more of it. And yeah, I would be surprised to this article that we see more groups getting insiders to execute or do those little pieces, right? Like, think about it. Instead of needing to bypass all these mail filters and hopefully someone clicks on this or whatever, why don't you just give them $200 and make that $1 million, right? Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, we're probably going to see a lot more of this. And
also, they'll totally get their 40% cut. Totally. Right? If you're dumb enough to be like, oh yeah, that's fine, I'll run the payload, right? You're totally getting your cut.
Yeah.
Okay, which Bitcoin address? Oh, I gave you my Ethereum address. Oh no, I lost it. Oh no, my keys.
Yeah. I'll take my money up front, please.
Yes, up front, right? I don't want my percentage. I want it meow.
Yeah.
I think it might be similar to the the other direction with the ransomware, where people are only gonna betray their employer if they know from other stories that people actually got their money. So it's probably in the interest of the gangs to at least initially have enough cases where they actually pay the people who give them the access.
Yeah. Here's going to be the scary problem. They're going to have so many people volunteering, the price is going to go to nothing, man. Like,
I mean, this dovetails with a few weeks ago. We talked about the article where the crypto or the ransomware actor disclosed all their TTPs because he was disgruntled. Like, ransomware groups are going to have to get better benefits, better pay, right? Like, we're going to have unions. We're going to have ransomware unions, guys. We're going to have ransomware unions.
I left Darkside to go to Revel so that way, because they had better health insurance,
better benefits.
I get a company car with these guys. I mean, I work from home, but
I know. Yeah, exactly.
I don't even need a car, but I need this company car for all those trips to wherever it is, right?
Non-extradition areas is where they're going.
Yes, yeah. Definitely only non-extradition countries, because this is a hot topic, hot button job.
But how are you going to get to the pipeline without a car?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
So you kind of started to go there, Ralph, but I was thinking this in the back of my head. So does that mean that the insider threats now count as part of the ransomware actors? The people who other people are saying, deserve the death penalty and all sorts of other stuff?
I don't know. No.
If you can forensically prove it, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like, if you have the attribution to say, like, they knowingly engaged and ran the payload and took 40% of the profits. I mean, that, right? I mean, in a court
is
of
that
law,
a full qualifier as a ransomware actor, even though there's now a group of people that are preying on other people? I don't know. It's an interesting thought,
Yeah.
So how do you defend against this?
You keep your employees happy.
No, you do. No. I do. You purchase an insider threat assessment, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
You plan for it, right? You plan for people.
Yeah.
It's like the Twitter thing, right? You don't give employees abilities to tweet as any Twitter user, right? Like, you don't. You have to, principle of least privilege, defense in depth, blah, 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 the same thing. But basically, you have to plan for our contractors are going to potentially screw us. Our employees are going to potentially screw us. You just have to be aware that these things can and do happen, especially now that it's more and more tempting than just, oh, I was confused and I ran the payload. Now it's more like, oh, I wanted 40% of the profit, so I ran the payload. It's more intentional, and that makes it scarier, which makes it more real, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely harder harder threat too. Like you have to, like Corey's saying, you have to plan for it. But that plan is not as simple as being like, well, there's some outsider who sent some email that nobody would ever want to click on, and it was an accident, and we were just a victim, right? As opposed to like, well, there's somebody in our organization who wants to make a profit off this too, and that's really difficult to defend against, even though you should be planning that out, right?
And not just one. I doubt they're sending this email to just a single individual. They're sending it to 25, 30 people at a time, probably.
Oh, well, dude, at this point, it's an open ad. At this point, it's an open ad, right? If I'm disgruntled, I can just find a group. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean, the other thing is it's so much harder to burn out an insider threat, right? Because like there's a lot of miscommunication. Like having done red teams, I've done a red team where I compromised a user and they reported the phish. They were like, I think I got phished. But it was a SSO and I had access to their ticketing system. So I just went in the ticket and said, oh, sorry, that was my mistake. I opened that email in an error. Can you close it? It's fine. And they did. They closed it. So it's like, it's so much. If you're actually maliciously trying to persist this ransomware in a network, it's so much harder to burn it out. It's not like you reimage their laptop and they just run it again, right? Like, right. Or you take away their what do you do? I guess you just fire them. I guess it's hard. It's a hard thing.
That will make them more angry at you. Like they were disgruntled before, so you fired them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of quarantining the computer, you have to quarantine the person. You lock them up. So
I'm sorry, blue teamers. Good luck. Like you have my best wishes, blue teamers.
Oh gosh, the fun stuff there. Yeah, so ransomware is still a thing. Well, that's fun. I'm
really waiting for the day where we can say that ransomware is no longer a thing. That will be fantastic.
No, that's not going to happen. Regretfully,
pretty sure something worse will follow.
Yeah, right. Look, you're going to come up with. Oh gosh, if it's profitable, we can expect to see more of it. All right. And in this case, it's profitable, not just for the lulz, right?
Yes, and it's all because of Bitcoin too.
It's all, yes, we must blame cryptocurrency. It's all cryptocurrency's fault, nothing else. That's it. That is it. It enables the whole market system. We must shut it down. That was all a joke.
Maybe at some point they'll just do the ransom before the actual attack and say, if you don't pay us, we're going to hack you, and then it's going to be very messy
for you. It's extortion. It's straight gone to extortion. We don't even do hacks anymore. I just extort.
Protection money.
It's a nice network you have. It would sure be a shame if someone were to come mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ads.
Yeah, just do that on a Google Ads server. Just put it on the websites.
Exactly. No, seriously, I can set up ads in Google Ads or Facebook and target only CEOs of large corporations that have a certain amount of people. They will see my ad only, like just them, only in certain regions if you want. They will see the ad that says, whatever. Hey, you don't want your company to be a victim. Go ahead and pay us now, or you might be next. This is the advertising world we live in, though.
Where's the protection racket? We got to get it started.
Where is the protection racket? Oh, my God. Here we go. All right, no more ransomware. We're done. No more. We're ever going to talk about it again. There's never going to be an article about ransomware again.
This is not a recurring segment.
About botnets, then?
Oh, yes. Let's talk about botnets then.
Because just like ransomware, they're never going away.
Oh my God. And that, go ahead. Talk about this article.
Oh no, I haven't.
You didn't have anything to say? You don't even know it. All right, it's cool.
What is the Modi botnet?
No. So what I was going to bring up is that, yes, botnets are not going away. But if you think about it, one of the big things with these botnets is usually out of date manufacturers who've end of life stuff and stuff like that. And that even actually brings up another article we have too with Cisco. Cisco's got some end of life routers, and I believe it's some customer or small business routers, and it's not just routers but other devices too, and their end of life, Cisco doesn't want to support them anymore, and they're being exploited and vulnerabilities are being discovered. Like, for example, this one is a RCE on these these small business routers, and because they're end of life, Cisco's just not going to do anything, and it's going to be exploited and turned into absolutely a botnet. It will be in a botnet like as a service package if you want to build a big botnet, and they will use these botnets to do ransomware attacks and other kinds of malicious activities that they don't want to expose their location, denial of service attacks, other things like that. And this is just all part of the big ecosystem to keep the threat actor machine going, right? And there's no fix.
Yeah, I mean it's two IoT problems with different fixes, right? One is home and one is business, right? So I don't know if it's at home. I kind of feel like the manufacturer, although I don't know. At the same point in time, like it's kind of do home manufacturers have like a responsibility as much to fix these kinds of bugs, or is it?
I think it's a little bit tough because like I kind of get what you're going with. I think like in your home environments, in your home networks, it's not uncommon that you'll like go to a friend's house and you'll wander over and you'll see this Netgear that I swear came out in like 2003. And part of the problem was they were given that in 2012, but they've kept it till like 2021. It's just been their router. It hasn't stopped working. So why fix it? And so like, yeah, in the home, it's completely different. Now, the other problem is though, is that people have paid a ton of money for this Cisco gear. And they're now like, hey, why we now have vulnerable edge devices. This is not good. And Cisco's like, it's your own problem. Buy some new Cisco gear. And yeah.
Well, no, I mean, definitely pay up. Hey, we got some real good gear here. It's real expensive, but it's real nice. Super.
So you can get a new TAC subscription with it and some everything else. Yeah.
I get that TAC. Oh, God, yeah. So nice. So nice.
I feel like it's almost like that cell phone mentality, right? Where it's like, you have a cell phone for a couple of years, then all of a sudden, like, the battery starts not living as long and apps start not working and everything. And it's like, we know like Samsung, Apple, like all those companies, they've disclosed that, we do that because you need to upgrade. Like it's
planned
our phones. They say the hardware can only, handle so much before you need to upgrade the hardware, right? Like half these phones are more powerful than, laptops that I have and everything. And it's like, no, you just want more money. And we're starting to see this in other, aspects as well. Like it's always been like that, but not so blatant as it is now, where you have companies that are like, no, we're going to end of life this product. I'm like, that hardware could still run a lot of things. You just want them to upgrade and you want them to spend more money. And it's this consumer driven, cybersecurity that we have.
Yeah, I was going to say OTA, right? That's where everything's going, is the OTA updates where like you buy a subscription to a product. You don't buy a product. You don't buy like a serial number. You buy like a subscription to whatever cloud service Cisco has or any company. Same with the router stuff, right? Like even like from your ISP, you can lease a modem. I don't know if it gets OTA updates, probably not, but it is interesting on the enterprise level.
Offline.
Yeah, I mean it's right. Well, there was also that one hacker that was like OTA. They were like breaching people's routers and then fixing the bugs for them. So like, who knows? At this point, your router might have been fixed by a threat actor at this point. But
there you go.
It is interesting when you think about, like, I think like you said, they obsolete it. They would rather have people go with something that's just kind of a rolling, it's not a product. It's like a service, I guess. I don't know.
It would be interesting to have like a standard for doing like security or like so having a standard for products that have like a 10-year security support shelf life, right? If you buy this router or whatever, you'll get 10 years of security updates or something like that. So at least just like knowing.
I mean, it would be nice because even when you go and download like an Ubuntu image, if you go and get like the 18.04 LTS like thing, it tells you this operating system will be supported for this many years. And they do that because number one, people put it into IoT devices and they want to know that the IoT device is going to last for that long, theoretically. But yeah, it'd be fantastic. I would totally go. I'd be happy to see Netgear come out with a router that says, look, we will support this. We'll do long-term support on this for 10 years. And I would pay extra for it if I saw it.
Yeah. And honestly, I guess.
Yeah. Because it's running Ubuntu 18.04.
And they don't have to do the security patches, right? Exactly, dude.
It's got a cron job in it that runs the package manager, and you're good to go. But even that would still be an improvement over some of the stuff we see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there definitely is some room for improvement there, especially with some software, just to have like just knowing that it's long term. Because right now you just buy it, you're like, I hope it's still supported next week. I mean, that's been one of the big issues with the Android phones, right? It was for me personally, is that you bought this new phone and it was next year. They were like, well, I mean, maybe you'll get the new version of Android. I don't know. We'll think about it if you're lucky. It's like you just got the software version cliff was like a year. And you're done, right? Yeah. And there's other versions of hardware that doesn't support that. But just knowing, regardless of what it is, and we're talking specifically about security here, knowing that you can get that 10 years of support or whatever it may be, because I mean that I can totally accept. Hey, in 10 years, I'll have to get another one of these. That's fine, but I don't need to because of some security issue for the next 10 years, which is worth it. And I think companies should be looking for that. So
someone in chat just said, should security updates be included or similar to a warranty, right? Like that. Yeah. I feel like California entered the chat on that one. They were like, what? It probably should, right? Like probably on like if the product's warranted for X amount of time, it should probably get security updates during that time. And I'm sure at some point there will be a lawsuit where it's like, this product was under warranty, but it was like breached by attackers and disabled. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I don't know. I could see the writing on the wall.
Well, and real quick, I think since we're talking about it, we should also talk just for a quick second on the fact that when I'm saying I want software updates for these edge devices and these IoT devices like this, I don't want software updates that I have to go and log into the web interface on my router, go download download like a tar file off of Netgear's website and then do it, because that will never happen.
OTA. It has to be OTA.
It needs to be OTA. So I do want to specify that, you need support and it needs to be OTA.
But the privacy people just freaked out about OTA updates, right? Because now it means that the manufacturer has a way to update your firmware, which if that's compromised, it's it's tough. I mean,
I'll take that over just dying on the vine after 2 years no updates. Right?
That's fair, especially for the average person, right? For the average person, at the enterprise level, maybe they're not willing to take that risk. But
if you're really that worried about it, you're going to go get some Cisco gear, which is no longer supported and you can't update. But
so maybe maybe get something else like PF.
Yeah. So the enterprise hires somebody to do this, hopefully, right? That's that should be part of their whole life cycle sustainment for the organization. Like, I bought this, it's going to last for this long. After this time, we upgrade to this, blah, blah, blah. You don't necessarily have the upgrade path, but you're always working towards like what you're going to do next. My grandmother doesn't have that. It's like, there's none of that, right? Or, my parents, they don't have that. And
they do. They have you, Ralph.
I was going to say, right? You are that, Ralph.
Every time. No, but just having something that does have OTA, over the air updates and that can just get that, you just be like, turn it on, make it work, and you know what I think is funny right now, the current systems that are kind of have that level of security are like the prosumer dash like baby enterprise, right? I mean, I'm not talking Cisco stuff, but like Ubiquiti and some of the other lines where they're like,
or even Cisco stuff. If you look at like Meraki,
but do it, anyway.
Well, didn't they buy? Yeah, I mean, they bought like a mid-tier prosumer brand, right? Isn't that where Meraki came from? I think.
Yeah. But
it does a OTA type of update, and I mean, you can still get even Cisco gear that does that theoretically, but you're right. You don't, like I said, I feel like I'm calling out Netgear, but hey, Netgear, I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
your update process is terrible.
I mean, we've seen threat actors literally using router phones in the last like that botnet, right? I mean, they're very common and they're hard to fix. They're people don't patch their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, those CVEs were 2014 and 2015. Like, it's not news. It's not 2021's.
Yeah,
I would assume they're already patched by threat actors by now. It's just somebody still has access.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Unless the botnet got taken down at some point.
So speaking of consumer hardware, what about this Razer mouse, right? Have you guys seen this? So I guess
pretty cool.
Somebody discovered that if you plug in a Razer mouse, you can actually use the Razer installer as system to escalate privileges.
Well, it's not you do it. Windows just does it for you. Windows Update launch the installer for you as system.
Is this the cost of RGB?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there, when you open up, it'll open up the installer, and then you can just open like a file browser, and then go find CMD and launch it, and it'll run a system.
Launch PowerShell.
And you can use and you can use an OMG cable for this too. So an implant, you could just easy supply chain replace the cable in a mouse with a device that does this attack, and you have instant beacon as system, which is crazy.
I wonder. So, all right, this is a Razer mouse, and somebody discovered this, and I'm assuming by accident they were like, "What the hell?" Like, oh wow, I could just right click here. Jesus Christ! But I wonder how many other devices do the same thing, right? Is it just like
the driver thing? Yeah.
Yeah, like this has got to be more. It's going to be the new thing now. Everyone's be posting on Twitter how they got privilege escalation with their new, I don't know, Chinese mouse or whatever.
It's kind of not a Razer problem as so much of it's the whole system. The Windows updates, installing your mouse driver, running it as system, just assuming that it's going to be like, the manufacturer should have probably thought about this a little bit, but like we said, what if I were to decide I want to make a mouse now? Like, whose responsibility is this? This is really, if it falls on anyone, it has to fall on Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, it also goes back to the disclosure conversation we were having earlier, right? It was, I told them they didn't respond, so here's a free.
Right. Yeah.
Which I know it has been discovered, it's not like a new thing necessarily, but it is interesting disclosure problem where it's like,
well, I don't think they gave Razer 60 days on this one. I think they were just like, hey, dude, look what I could do.
No,
and I'm sure that, quite frankly, like they said, they called Razer. Razer was, if they said anything at all, was like, this isn't an us problem. This is a Microsoft problem.
They were like, it's functioning properly. I can tell. Look.
Yeah, but see, now it has their logo on it, right? This is like it's the court, it's the public opinion thing, right? It's like how do you drive change in EDR products as an example, right? You get enough clients to complain about their EDR products. Like that's the same thing as this, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would like to bring this back to the long-term support discussion we had before. So now if I buy a Razer mouse, can I expect this exploit to work for the next 10 years? Because if I buy one and it doesn't work next month, I'm going to be pretty angry.
Yeah, whoever tweeted about it, you have to ask them about the warranty on this exploit.
Oh, yes. No, we do. We need that. 10 years of exploit support.
I will say, just to clarify, you don't need a Razer mouse. You don't ever have to purchase a Razer product to use this exploit. And also, if you don't buy a Razer product, it doesn't make you safe from this exploit. So
and Rob was saying in the chat too, in this back chat, that there's other things that can do this, including US rubber ducky, and so this isn't, and his point really is that this isn't super new. But, it's just not as easy to automate. And this was just kind of like point and click. Like you could accidentally fall into this. So there's got to be some more stuff out there. And then I think the last point about this particular attack is that this is a physical attack. So you do have to be in front of the device. This isn't like some remote attack. You do have to plug this mouse in to kind of, elevate privileges. But man, that'd be great on some like insider threat. They're like, send you a laptop. I'm like, yeah, just plug this mouse in and we were good to go.
Yeah,
so,
security awareness, right? USB devices is more, it's always been true. It's more true than ever now, right?
Yep.
When you plug something in your computer, look for a QR code from the manufacturer or something that validates that it's real. A lot of companies are doing that now where they actually have like a real-time product validator. So probably a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all the articles we had. Did anyone have anything else? We've easily blown through our hour of great content.
I need you to patch my Cisco devices, Ralph.
All right, I get you. I get that. I know somebody who knows somebody who has a TAC account. It's very expensive.
Okay.
Well, if we're talking about it, Ralph, I need some autonomous firmware for an AP too. So just I'll send you an email. It's fine.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll put that on the list.
Netgear@ralph.com or sorry, Ralph@netgear.com.
Ralph@netgear.com. That's been my email for a long time, man. It's very stable. 10 years of support. All right, let's wrap this one up. All right, thanks for everyone for stopping by, listening to us yap about IoT and all the things wrong with Facebook. So we will catch you guys next time. Later, guys.